House prices are growing at their slowest rate since May 2013. That's according to the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. Just 2% more surveyors expect prices to rise over the next 3 months. However, both Scotland and Northern Ireland outperformed the rest of the UK housing market in January. Housing expert Henry Pryor is here to make sense of it all. So, Henry, what exactly is happening here? This is quite a negative sounding report, and we've been told we're in the middle of a massive housing boom. What's going on?
Well, Ramzan, it's interesting. We've got a situation where the RICS's monthly sentiment survey, based on how estate agents and surveyors feel and view the market going forward, is perhaps being mirrored by what we saw from last month's Halifax House Price Index, which marked house prices up still, despite the fact that most people anecdotally think that the market is perhaps sliding away slightly. We know that George Osborne, in his autumn statement in December, made changes to stamp duty and the amount that people have to pay, particularly at the lower end of the market when they buy a property. And that is perhaps helping keep up prices and a degree of optimism from those who are looking to sell. What would be much more interesting, I think, is rather than looking at a weather forecast for yesterday, waiting until we see the Rightmove survey, which is published on Monday. That's going to tell us what estate agents and sellers are looking at in terms of asking prices and whether they are optimistic ahead of the general election.
And there's a problem with a lot of surveys, is they are quite backward looking. But I mean, what does this mean for first-timers? Should they be getting on the housing ladder right now?
Well, I think personally it's actually a very good time to be looking to buy a property. The struggle with the looming general election on the 7th of May is that it's actually quite a difficult time for people who are looking to sell. Uncertainty is never good in any market, and the housing market suffers particularly when we get to this. First-time buyers are still being helped, of course, by government initiatives like Help to Buy. That's making not just some difference, but all the difference in some parts of the country, particularly in the north and the northwest and the northeast, where those trying to get onto the housing ladder are struggling hugely.
Now, you mentioned there the election, but there are other factors that could put the housing market into a bit of a spin, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, we know that obviously with the general election coming up, some of the main political parties are talking about a mansion tax for those people at the top end of the housing market. We also know that there are changes for non-DOMs, people who are investing in property are now going to have to pay a capital gains tax as they do in the rest of the world. There are still some threats for those out there. We think the housing market is set relatively stably for the foreseeable future, certainly across the next 2 or 3 months until the general election. It's what happens after that, and for the remainder of the year, that there is some uncertainty.
Henry Pryor, as always, many thanks indeed.